Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, February the 2nd. Now, right now we have a 6-game slate for Tuesday. This could potentially become a 5-game slate. Detroit, they were supposed to play on Monday against the Nuggets, and that game did wind up getting postponed for contact tracing on the Detroit side. So it's probably likely that today's game between the Jazz and the Pistons gets postponed as well. But, we'll still break it down and assume it plays. If it does, I'm not going to have much interest in the game overall. But, yeah, 6-game slate right now. Could become a 5-game slate depending on what happens with the Pistons. But we're going to break everything down team by team, go through each game, kind of give you guys my early thoughts, what I'm liking on Tuesday's slate, just looking the night before. But before we get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below. If you are new to the channel here, be sure to click that subscribe button as well. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll also get notified every time I do go live, and I will be live streaming this afternoon for tonight's slate. So if you are able to tune in around 3:30 Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, I will be live for tonight's slate. I can answer all your questions. We can talk through everything once again. So tune into the live stream, hit the like button, guys, hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead and take a look at Tuesday's slate. So we'll start off with the Toronto and Orlando game. These teams did just play on Sunday. They're playing again today on Tuesday. We'll start off on the Toronto side. So in terms of injuries here, OG Anunoby remains out, while also, Norman Powell is questionable. So this will be something to watch, the status of Norman Powell. If he plays, it's 6,400. His price has gotten to a point where I don't have a ton of interest in him if he plays. But if he is out again, that will potentially give us some value with Terrence Davis, who's really cheap at 4K, and we will touch on him. But yeah, with no OG, with potentially no Powell, we know this Toronto Raptors offense already is pretty heavy, pretty usage heavy. Goes, a lot of the usage goes to the three guys at the top, Siakam, VanVleet, and Lowry. Those are the three guys that obviously do stand out here. Both are all pretty appropriately priced on DK. If anything, they're all a little bit too cheap. Siakam, 7,700 on DK, just put up 55 DK points in this matchup in 34 minutes when they played Sunday. Had 30 and 10 with 3 assists, 1 block, and 3 steals. Really productive game from Siakam. We know he's a guy that is going to be productive when he's on the floor. He's a high usage player. Getting OG off the floor does help Siakam just a little bit. Also getting Powell off the floor if he were to be out, that'd be a small boost for Siakam as well. So I do have quite a bit of interest in Pascal Siakam. Fred VanVleet I think is also viable just given the injuries to the Raptors right now. I know he had a bad game in this matchup Sunday, but I'd expect him to bounce back here. Between VanVleet and Lowry, it's always close between the two. Like last game it was Lowry who did really well. He had 47. VanVleet really struggled with 19 fantasy points. It's so hard to pick between those two guys because they both, produce at about the same rate. They both are going to project so similarly. I think, whichever one's more popular, you probably just play the other one. So if VanVleet's going to be really popular, which I don't think is going to be the case, I think because Lowry had the big game on Sunday that people are probably going to go to Lowry over VanVleet. Really, I think all three of these guys are in play. Probably my favorite, though, is Siakam of the three. I think I like him the most, but yeah, Siakam, VanVleet, Lowry. Normally, these aren't guys that I go out of my way to play, but on a shorter slate like this, and given the injuries that Toronto's dealing with right now, I think those three guys are all viable for sure. Chris Boucher, his price has come way down to 4,900, but he's just not getting the minutes right now, so it's hard to even trust Boucher at 4,900. If he were to play 28 to 30 minutes, he would absolutely blow this price out of the water, but look, he's just not getting the minutes right now, so even at his price point, I think you can still roster him in tournaments. Just, hope the minutes are there, and he could be a really good tournament play, but I probably wouldn't touch him in cash games. It's just too risky right now given, Boucher, just his role right now, he's just not getting the minutes, so don't really want to go to Boucher even with his price way down. But I think Aaron Baines is really appealing. So Aaron Baines, he's actually been seeing his minutes increase, whereas, Boucher's been seeing his minutes decrease. We've seen Aaron Baines play 23, 23, and 29 minutes in their last 3 games. And he's been relatively productive with 28 and 29 DK points in 2 of those 3. Baines, pretty productive player when he does get minutes, just dating back to his time with Phoenix last year. At 4,300, if we're going to get, high 20s minutes from Baines, if we're going to get like 26, 28 minutes from him, he is probably one of my favorite values right now. At 4,300 on DK, minimum salary on Yahoo, I think Baines looks like a really good value today. I don't know if these minutes are going to continue. I don't know if they're going to continue to be this high because we saw, earlier this year he just wasn't getting the minutes even when he was starting. But it seems like right now they want to give him the minutes. So I do like Aaron Baines quite a bit. He's probably my favorite play from the Raptors overall when you do factor in salary. I think he does look like a really good value today. Terrence Davis could also be a decent value. I would assume that if Norman Powell is out again, that Terrence Davis starts. He did play 26 minutes in the starting lineup last game. He started the game before that, only played 19 minutes though. But I think it's likely if Davis does start, he probably gets mid to high 20s minutes. At 4K, he would definitely be a cheap option worth considering on the slate. He hasn't been great in the starting lineup, but this is still a guy that does have some upside that can be pretty productive when he's on the floor. I think I prefer Baines for a little bit more, but Davis is for sure in play if Norman Powell is out. But that does it for Toronto. We can go ahead and move on to the Orlando side. So on Orlando, pretty impactful news here. Aaron Gordon is now out, so that does impact some things. Obviously, Vooch gets a bump with Aaron Gordon out. I think at 8,200, Vooch is definitely probably the best pay-up option at center if you can spend up at the position. It's not a great matchup against Toronto. They're a good defensive team, but Vooch did just have 45 DK points in 35 minutes against them on Sunday. We know he's going to play pretty big minutes if the game is close. He's going to get mid to high 30s in minutes. With no Aaron Gordon, he does get a nice bump in usage. So should be more productive as well when he's on the floor. So I do like Vooch quite a bit. I think him and Aaron Baines are probably my two favorite center options. Vooch at the top I like a lot, and then Aaron Baines down at, for value I think is really good. And I could definitely see playing both those guys together on this slate. But Fournier, Terrence Ross, these guys get a boost with Aaron Gordon out as well. Ross, he's just always someone I feel like I never get right. It seems like when I play him, he always sucks, and then when I don't play him, that's when he goes off. Even though this is a shorter slate, I still don't have a ton of interest in Terrence Ross. I think he's viable. He should get more opportunity with Aaron Gordon out, should get a few more minutes. Still don't love him though. Fournier, kind of the same thing. Like his price is up to 6,300. Like I just never like playing Aaron Fournier when he's this expensive. Just think there's other guys I'd rather go to on this slate. Cole Anthony I think is viable. He's going to continue to start and play mid to high 30s minutes, probably low to mid 30s minutes, 30, 32 minutes, 5,500. You could definitely get 30 plus DK points from Cole Anthony, especially since there's no Aaron Gordon. He should get a little bit of bump in usage as well. So I do have interest in him. In terms of value, though, from Orlando, so with Aaron Gordon out, I assume that probably Gary Clark gets the start at 3,300. If you're looking for a punt option on this slate, Gary Clark is definitely viable. He's not someone that I ever enjoy rostering because he just doesn't have a ton of upside. Like we've seen, he can start and play 30 minutes and still only score 12 DraftKings points. Like on a point per minute basis, he's not that good of a player. But if he's going to play mid to high 20s minutes, like if he's going to get 28, 30 minutes, at 3,300, he is viable as a punt option. I think there's probably going to be better value today that we can look to, but don't mind Gary Clark at 3,300 if he does wind up starting for Aaron Gordon. But, by far my favorite option to target on Orlando today is definitely Vooch at the top. We can go ahead and move on to the next one, the Clippers and the Nets. So this should be a pretty fun game to watch. I don't know in terms of DFS if I have too much interest in this game. On the Clippers side, the price tags on these guys are somewhat appealing. The two guys at the top, Kawhi and PG. Kawhi's 9,200, PG's 8,900. I think both are fine options. Neither one stand out as core spend-up options for me. But we know these two guys are going to dominate the usage. It is a good matchup. Brooklyn has been really bad defensively this year. They've been playing pretty fast as well. So you can look to Kawhi and PG. I still think there's other studs I'd rather pay for, but those guys are viable. Really don't have too much interest in anyone else, though, on the Clippers. Like, at their price points, nobody really stands out outside of Kawhi and PG. Like, Reggie Jackson should start with Patrick Beverley out, but, his production's going to take a little bit of a hit now that Kawhi and PG are back. His price did come down to 5,100. It is a good pace-up matchup. I mean, if we're going to get, 25, 26 minutes from Reggie Jackson, he could definitely put up 30 DK points in that time and be a solid play. So I guess he is viable. He's not a terrible option, but still, I don't think he's going to be like a core play for me. Really don't see much from the Clippers that I love. I think Kawhi's viable. I think PG's in play. I think Reggie Jackson is in play. But really don't have too much interest in anyone else. Nicholas Batum is questionable, so that will be something to monitor. If he winds up out, maybe that'll give you, maybe we'll get some more minutes from Marcus Morris. He's only 4,700. He could be someone you consider for a cheaper play. But yeah, I don't see really any core, standout plays from the Clippers right now. So moving on to Brooklyn. Brooklyn back healthy again. James Harden is back for this game after missing their last game. And, I've said it before, when this Brooklyn team is fully healthy, like I just don't have a ton of interest in them, especially where they're priced at. Harden, 10,900, KD, 10,100. Kyrie, he looks the most appealing because he's only 8,800, but still, I don't think any of these three stud options for Brooklyn are going to be like core plays for me. I think there's other guys I'd rather go to. Like, I don't really like anything from Brooklyn today. You know, I don't have much interest in DeAndre Jordan. He's not getting the minutes. Jeff Green, though, I do want to talk about. So Jeff Green, you know, at 5,400 on DK, he's a fine option. He did get 30 minutes last game, and he's been getting, you know, 28 to 30 minutes over their last few games. I mean, he's played at least 29 minutes in 4 straight. They are definitely giving him the minutes off the bench. They're letting him play a lot more than DeAndre Jordan. They're playing a lot of small ball lineups with Jeff Green at the 5. They can definitely do that in this matchup. So I do have interest in Jeff Green, and I like him quite a bit on Yahoo. If you do play over on Yahoo, Jeff Green is very affordable over there. He is still really cheap, only $12 on Yahoo. I actually like him as a pretty good value over there on Yahoo at $12. If he's going to get 28 to 30 minutes off the bench, he's been a relatively productive player when he does get minutes. There's no reason for him to be only $12 on Yahoo. So I like Jeff Green a lot as a value there. He's fine on DK as well, but stands out more on Yahoo. So that really does it for Brooklyn. We can go ahead and move on to the next one, Memphis and Indiana. So on the Memphis side, Ja Morant, I believe he got injured on Monday in their game against the Spurs. I think he had to go to the locker room, but I saw that he returned to the game. So I'm assuming Morant plays today, but that will be something to monitor. This is a back-to-back for the Grizzlies. Assuming Morant does play, I mean, once again, he does feel a little bit too cheap at $7,500 on DK. I think he is definitely viable given that price point. Brandon Clark, Dylan Brooks, though, like neither one of those guys stand out. Kyle Anderson, I'm not a big fan of. I think Xavier Tillman is viable, though, so I didn't have a ton of interest in him on Monday, just given it was a bigger slate. There were a lot of other options, but on a shorter slate like this where we have only 6 games, potentially only 5 games, I think Tillman's actually a pretty solid value. 5,100 on DK, power forward and center eligible. I do like him quite a bit, and he's also very cheap on Yahoo at the center position. He's only $14 over there, I believe. $14 is the price. Yeah, $14 on Yahoo. So I think Tillman looks pretty good on Yahoo as well. The tough thing is, I want to try and pay up for Vooch if I can because I do like Vooch at 39. But right now, Tillman does look like a pretty solid value that we can plug in. Maybe I'll swap off one of those two guys and try and get into Vooch, but I do like Baines and Tillman quite a bit as center values. Wish Tillman was power forward on Yahoo. He's only center, but still like him as a value over there. He's going to get the minutes with no Joval. He's been playing, mid to high 20s minutes. He only got 21 minutes in their game Saturday, but as I'm recording this video Monday night, he is playing pretty well in their game Monday night. I think last time I checked, he had like 16 fantasy points at halftime or something. The game's about to be over. Tillman played 23 minutes, had a double-double, 10 and 10 with 1 assist and 2 steals, 3 blocks. So he had a really good game on Monday night in this against the Spurs. Only 23 minutes played. I think we can definitely look to go back to Xavier Tillman at 5,100. Is he a standout play at that price? No, but definitely viable given we don't have as many options today. But D'Anthony Melton's another guy I want to talk about. So he is only 4,500. I actually like him quite a bit as a value play as well. He's been getting the minutes recently. In his first game back, last time out against Spurs, or in their first game back, with the COVID issues and everything, Melton played pretty good minutes. He got 32 minutes off the bench in their game Sunday against the Spurs. And Monday, I'm checking the game log now, he played 26 minutes, had 17.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. So he had another big game on Monday night in 26, 27 minutes. I think it's likely we see Melton play probably mid to high 20s minutes off the bench. With no Grayson Allen, the minutes should be there for him, and he's always been a pretty productive player when he does get minutes. So at 4,500, I do like him quite a bit as a value today as well, especially if Ja Morant is maybe a little banged up. That can maybe help Melton a little bit here. So I like him as a value at 4,500. Just keep an eye on the status of Morant. He had to leave their game Monday. He did return, though. He played the rest of the game out, but there could be a chance that maybe he misses this one on the back-to-back. So just monitor that. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the Pacers side. On the Pacers today, there really isn't a ton that stands out to me. I think Sabonis and Brogdon are definitely in play. They're always viable, basically any slate. They're not core options for me, but I think Sabonis and Brogdon are definitely guys you can look to. Jeremy Lamb, I think, is fine at 5,400. He's been starting, been getting the minutes, playing about 28 to 30 minutes. Got 30 last game, had 28 DK points, 31 minutes a game before that, 27 DK points. I mean, if we're going to get, 30, 32 minutes from Jeremy Lamb at 5,400, he's definitely viable here against Memphis. So, Sabonis, Brogdon, Lamb, they're fine options, but none of them stand out as core plays for me. Nobody really from the Pacers stands out as like a top play overall. So I think that kind of does it for this game. We can go ahead and move on to the next one. So Portland, Washington, this is, in my opinion, by far the best game to target on the slate. We got two very fast-paced teams, two teams that don't play a ton of defense. This game right now has a very high total. I think it's at 240. Yeah, it's at 240.5. So we're expecting a ton of points scored here. Starting on the Portland side, Damian Lillard, he was kind of disappointing Monday against the Bucks. He wasn't bad on a point-per-minute basis. He had 37 or like 38 DK points at the end of the third quarter, but he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. It was a blowout, so blowout really hurt Lillard in Monday's game against the Bucks. Obviously, we can't, predict blowouts. I'm going to assume that this game stays close against Washington. Right now, the spread is, 2.5 points, so it's expected to be a close game. I like Lillard a lot. He's definitely a stud I want to try and get in on the slate. Like him quite a bit on both sides. Coming in at $49 on Yahoo. I think, given how many underpriced guys there are on Yahoo, it is pretty easy to get to Lillard. So I do like him a lot. We know the usage is going to be dominated by Lillard whenever, CJ McCollum's on the floor. And while McCollum remains out, Lillard just has so much upside. The minutes are going to be there. It's a back-to-back, but I'm not too worried about that given Lillard didn't play a ton of minutes Monday because of the blowout. So really like Damian Lillard here in a great spot against Washington. I think Enes Kanter is also viable at 6,900. You can definitely look to him here. Gary Trent's price has come up to a point where I'm not too interested in him, even in a good matchup. I think if you do want to play Gary Trent, you could play him on Yahoo. He's still pretty cheap over there at $14. Do like Gary Trent more on Yahoo. Not really going to go to him on DK. But like Covington, Carmelo, I don't think either one's like top plays for me. I think really from Portland, it's definitely Dame number one. I like Kanter quite a bit. Gary Trent is in play on Yahoo, but that kind of does it for the Portland side. Not much else stands out. I know Nasir Little had a good game Monday night in the starting lineup, but that's not something I'm going to chase. Like Nasir Little just doesn't have a ton of upside. Not someone I would be really looking to go back to on this slate, even if he does start again. So I think we go ahead and move on to the Washington side. Washington pretty appealing here as well, given it's a good matchup for them. Bradley Beal is 9,900. I think Bradley Beal is definitely in play on this slate as one of the pay-up options you can look to. Right now, I'm going to prefer Lillard for a bit more, and I like Westbrook a lot for cheaper, so Beal would probably be like my third or fourth favorite stud on this slate, but he is definitely viable in a good matchup like this. But Russell Westbrook I like a lot. 9,100 on DK, that still does feel a little bit too cheap. He does still feel too cheap on Yahoo as well at $41. The minutes are back up for Westbrook, like he's back to playing his full allotment of minutes. He got 35 last game against Brooklyn, had 73 DK points in that game. It seems like he's no longer limited. He's going to be playing 34, 35 minutes like he was at the beginning of the year. And Westbrook, this is a dude that just stuffs the stat sheet. He's going to do everything. He's going to score. He's going to get rebounds. He can get assists, obviously. He can get defensive stats as well. Like, Westbrook has a ton of upside when he's playing, 35, 36 minutes. And especially in a fast-paced game like this, they just see a ton of points scored. I mean, I would not be surprised to see another massive game from Russell Westbrook. And at 9,100, like, that is too cheap for him. We saw at the beginning of the year when he was fully healthy playing 35, 36 minutes a night, like, he was priced above 10K pretty consistently, and now he's only 9,100, which is definitely too low for Westbrook now that he's getting his normal minutes. So I like him a lot on Washington. He's definitely my favorite play from the Wizards. But I don't have too much interest in any of the secondary options like Rui or Bertans or Ish Smith. Like, Ish Smith had a good game off the bench. Mo Wagner had a good game off the bench, but I don't know if I really want to chase that. Yeah, outside of Washington, like in terms of top options for me, it's really just Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, and Westbrook's definitely my favorite between the two there. I think that really does it for Washington, though. So we can go ahead and move on to Boston and Golden State. Not the most appealing game to target overall. Boston, it is a really good matchup for these guys against the Warriors. The Warriors haven't been that great defensively this year, if I'm not mistaken. They do play really fast. Tatum, you could definitely look to at 8,600. Jaylen Brown's for sure in play at 7,800. But again, I don't think either one of those two guys stand out as like top options for me. Marcus Smart is out, so that is something worth monitoring. Smart is going to be out for, I believe, like a couple of weeks or so. So we'll have to wait and see who starts in place of Marcus Smart. I'm not sure who they're going to go with. It could be Jeff Teague. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, probably is going to be Jeff Teague. I don't really know here, but yeah, if Jeff Teague starts, then he would become viable as a cheap option, 4,500. Draftkings did raise up his price, but if he starts, I think it's likely he gets, mid to high 20s minutes. And at 4,500 in a pace-up matchup against the Warriors, Jeff Teague would definitely be a pretty solid value on the slate. So we'll have to wait and see who starts for Boston. If it is Teague, he's in play. If it's somebody else, and it depends on who it is, like if like Semi Ojeleye starts or something, I don't really want to go to him. If Aaron Naismith starts, I mean, maybe he could be viable. I think it's going to be Teague, though. So, yeah, if Teague starts, I actually like him a good amount as a value from Boston. Tatum's in play, Brown's in play. Those guys should get a small bump up with Smart out. So should Kemba Walker. But I think the guy that really stands out the most is Teague. If he starts, he's pretty good, or he looks like a pretty good option at 4,500. So do have interest in him. But on the Golden State side, not much stands out from the Warriors here. Like Steph Curry always has upside, but in a matchup against the Celtics, I don't know if Curry's someone I really want to go out of my way to play. Same with like Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins. Neither one stands out as top plays for me. James Wiseman is out, so that'll be an injury worth monitoring. With him out, or at least an injury worth talking about. With him out, I think that does boost up Kevon Looney's minutes. I don't know how many minutes Looney plays here, but he got 23 last game, had 23 DK points. I mean, he could play anywhere from like 16 to 28 minutes. Like, I really don't know. I think the range of outcomes are pretty wide. But at least with Wiseman out, that does make me feel pretty confident that Looney gets, at least low to mid-20s minutes. So you could definitely target Kevon Looney as a value option. The only thing that sucks on this slate is that he's center only, where, there's a lot of decent centers I like Aaron Baines, Tillman you can play at center, Nikola Vucevic as well. But yeah, Looney is definitely viable because I think the minutes will be a little bit higher for him now that Wiseman is out. I do have interest in Kevon Looney. He's probably my favorite play from Golden State, honestly. I don't really have too much interest in anyone else outside of Kevon Looney. I know Draymond Green's really cheap, but he's just been so bad this year for fantasy. I don't know if I really want to target him. So I think that kind of does it for Golden State. Now, looking at this late night game, Detroit-Utah, like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, this game is probably going to get postponed given the Detroit was not able to play Monday. The contact tracing came back on Detroit's side. So if they have a player test positive or something, it's highly likely this game is postponed. But we'll touch on it anyway. Even if this game does play, I don't think there's really a ton I like from this game. Jeremy Grant, his price has come way down. It's $7K. He could be viable just given that price has come down, but I don't really like anything on Detroit. It's a bad matchup. It's a slow-paced game. This game should be really low scoring if it does play. Yeah, I don't really like anything from the Pistons outside of maybe Jeremy Grant, just given that his price is now down to $7K. So he's viable, but we can go ahead and move on to the Utah side. Utah, it's kind of the same thing. It's a better matchup for these guys. These guys are obviously way more productive players. Donovan Mitchell's viable for sure, but on this slate, he doesn't really stand out as a top option. Rudy Gobert I actually do have some interest in. It's a really good matchup. Detroit's been terrible defensively against centers this year. They've allowed the second most fantasy points to the center position. Really good matchup from Gobert. I think he's definitely my favorite guy to target from Utah today. But Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, Clarkson, none of these guys really look like top plays. Just in a slow-paced, ugly game like this that should be low scoring, I really don't want to have too much invested in this game outside of maybe Rudy Gobert and maybe Jeremy Grant. Really don't like much else besides those two guys. Really, these two late-night games are just not that appealing. I think on the Golden State-Boston game, that one's more appealing just because we do have some value. If Teague starts, he's cheap. With Wiseman out, Kevon Looney should get more minutes and he's cheap. But yeah, these two late-night games are pretty unappealing, to be honest. But I think we broke everything down, guys, for these 6 games. Broke it all down team by team. So I hope you did enjoy the video. I do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also get notified every time I do go live. And like I said, guys, I'll be live this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, around 3:30, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, breaking down this slate once again, answering all your questions. So tune into the live stream this afternoon if you are able to. But yeah, good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck, guys. Peace.